Hi and welcome back to Sadie's Spincraft. Today is spin and story time. We will be doing chapter 14 of Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder. Chapter 14. The next morning I headed out the south gate just as the sun crested the Seoul Mountains. Soon a glorious sweep of sunlight rushed over the valley, indicating the start of the commander's exercise. My heart pulsed with excitement and fear, a strange combination of feelings, but they fueled my steps. I scarcely felt the weight of my backpack. I had worried that the items contained in my knapsack could be considered cheating. After much thought, I decided that a prisoner intent on escaping from the dungeon would save some of her bread rations, smuggle a weapon from the guard room, and steal the other items from the blacksmiths. And if I was stretching things a bit, then so what? No one had told me I must flee with nothing. My determination to escape had increased since the plan had first been proposed. The money was merely a bonus at this point. I wanted to prove the commander wrong. The commander who thought I wouldn't get far, who had been concerned my death would jeopardize his exercise. Before leaving the castle complex, I had stopped for a moment to view the main building in the daylight. My first impression was that a child had built the palace with his toy blocks. The base of the castle was rectangular. It supported various upper levels of squares, triangles, and cylinders, built atop one another in a haphazard fashion. The only attempts at symmetry were the magnificent towers at each corner of the castle, streaked with brilliantly coloured glass windows. The four towers stretched towards the sky. The castle's unusual geometric design intrigued me, and I would have liked to view it from other angles, but Valak had instructed me to leave the castle at dawn, as I only had an hour's head start. Then the soldiers and dogs in pursuit would try to discover which gate I had exited, track me from there. Valak had taken one of my uniform shirts in order to give the dogs my scent. I had asked him who would taste the commander's food while I was gone, and he'd given me some vague reply about having others trained in the art of poisoning who were too valuable to be used on a regular basis, unlike me. My southern route was an obvious direction, but I didn't plan to maintain it for long. I hoped the soldiers would assume I was heading straight for the border. The castle complex was in Military District 6 and quite close to the southern lands, wedged between MD7 to the west and MD5 to the east. The dead king who had built the complex had preferred the milder weather. Alternating between jogging and walking, it wasn't long before I entered Snake Forest, avoiding Castletown. While studying some of Valak's maps the previous night, I had noticed that the forest surrounded Castletown on three sides. The northern district of the town faced the castle. Snake Forest also spread out to the east and west like a thin belt of green. At the official southern border, Commander Ambrose's soldiers had cleared 100-foot wide swathe from the Seoul Mountains in the east all the way to the Sunset Ocean in the west. Since the takeover, it was a crime for anyone, Ixian or Citian, to cross this line. I jogged through the forest, making a conspicuous trail, breaking branches and stomping footprints in the dirt. I remained southbound until I reached a small stream. My hour head start was almost up. I knelt by the stream's bank and reached into the water. Pulling out a handful of mud, I let the water drain through my fingers. I hunched over the stream and smeared the wet sediment on my face and neck. Since I had pulled my hair into a bun, I rubbed mud on my ears and the back of my neck. I hoped the men would guess I had knelt here for a drink. After stamping footprints near the stream's bank to mislead my pursuers into thinking I had walked into the water, I traced my route back until I found a perfect tree. About 6 feet from my path, a velvet's smooth trunk rose high into the air. The first sturdy branch of the main trunk stretched 15 feet above my head. Trying not to disturb the ground around my scent path, I removed my backpack and pulled out one of the items I had borrowed from the blacksmiths. It was a small metal grappling hook. I tied it to the end of a long thin rope coiled inside my bag. With my head start gone, a sudden image of guards and dogs exploding from the castle flashed through my mind. Hastily, I threw the hook up to the branch. It missed. I caught it on the way down. Frantic, I threw the hook again. Missed. I calmed my raging pulse and focused on the task. The hook snagged the branch. Confident the hook was secure, I tied the extra line around my waist so it wouldn't drag, and put on my backpack. Grabbing the rope with both hands, I pulled my weight off the ground and wrapped my legs around the slack. It had been a long time since I had climbed this way. All the way up the rope, my arms, shoulders and back muscles complained over my year-long inactivity. Once I reached the top, I straddled the branch and repacked the rope and hook in my backpack. A strong breeze blew from the west. Wanting to stay downwind of the dogs, I spent the next half hour climbing east through the trees until I was well away from my original path. For once, my small size and acrobatic abilities proved a benefit. When I came across a chiquito tree, I found a secure nook near the trunk and unslung my backpack. The chiquito leaves was the biggest that grew in the snake forest. Its circular-shaped green leaf, spotted with brown, was perfect for my needs. I sat still for a minute, listening for sounds of pursuit. Birds chirped and insects buzzed. I heard the quick rustling of leaves as a deer moved. I detected the faint baying of dogs, but it might have been just my imagination. There was no sign of Valak, but knowing him, he had to be close behind. Taking Rand's glue from my pack, I stripped leaves off the tree. When I had enough, I removed my shirt and glued the leaves onto it. Feeling self-conscious in just my sleeveless shirt, I worked fast. I covered the shirt, then my pants, boots and backpack with leaves. Finally, I glued a large leaf onto my hair and 2 smaller ones on the back of my hands, leaving my fingers free to move. Rand's warning that the glue only held for a week passed through my mind, and I smiled as I envisioned his reaction when he saw me walking around the castle with leaves attached to my head and hands. I didn't have a mirror, but I hoped I had camouflaged my entire body in green and brown. I wasn't concerned with small black patches that might show through. It was the bright red of my uniform shirt that would immediately give me away. Too nervous to stay in one place for long, I continued to climb east as fast and quiet as I could. My eastern direction wandered. Since I was unwilling to let my scent touch the ground, I had to detour either north or south on occasion. My grappling hook and rope were employed many a time, as I used them to bring branches within reach or to swing from tree to tree. My muscles protested the abuse, but I ignored them. Laughing to myself whenever I overcame a difficult hurdle, I enjoyed the pure freedom of travelling above the ground. I grinned as I sweated through the entire morning. Eventually, I knew I would have to head south again, because that was the only place a fugitive could find safety and asylum. Scythia welcomed the refugees from Ixia. Their government had an open relationship with the king, trading exotic spices, fabrics, and foods for metals, precious stones, and coals. When the commander ceased trade, Ixia lost mainly luxury items, while Scythia's resources became limited. Worry that Scythia would try to conquer the north for needed resources had dissipated when the Scythian geologists discovered that the Emerald Mountains, a continuation of the northern Sole Mountains, were rich in ores and minerals. Now it seemed Scythia was content to keep a wary eye on the north. Soon my climb through the trees intersected a well-used path in the forest. I saw deep wagon ruts in the hard-packed dirt. The road was probably a part of the main east-west trading route, which turned north for a few miles to detour around Lake Kira before resuming its easterly direction. The lake was just over the border of MD5. Settling on a sturdy branch within sight of the path, I leaned back on the tree's trunk, rested and ate my lunch while deciding where to go next. After a while, the soothing noises from the forest almost lulled me to sleep. "See anything?" a male voice beneath me disrupted the quiet. Startled, I grabbed the branch to keep from falling. Caught, I froze in shock. "No, all clear," another man's voice replied from a distance. His tone was rough with annoyance. There had been no barking to alert me. It must be the other team. I had been so worried about the dogs that I had forgotten about the smaller team. Too cocky, I thought. I deserved to be caught early. I waited for them to order me down, but they remained quiet. Looking below, I searched the forest but couldn't locate them. Maybe they hadn't seen me after all. After a bit of rustling, two men emerged from the dense underbrush. They too wore green and brown camouflage, although their snug overalls and face paint were more professional than my glued-together ensemble. "Stupid idea, coming east. She's probably at the southern border by now," Rough Voice grumbled to his partner. "That's what the dog boys figured, even though the hounds lost her scent," said the second man. I smiled. I'd outsmarted the dogs. At least I had managed to accomplish that much. "I don't know if I follow the logic of going east," Rough Voice said. The other man sighed. "You're not supposed to follow the logic. The captain ordered us east. We go east. He seems to think she'll head deeper into MD5, familiar territory for her." "Well, what if she doesn't come back? Another stupid idea using the food taster," Rough Voice complained. "She's a criminal." "That's not our concern. That's Valek's problem. I'm sure if she got away, he would take care of her." I wondered if Valek was listening. We both knew he wouldn't need to hunt me down. All he had to do was wait the poison out. I found the conversation helpful, especially the fact that it wasn't common knowledge that I'd been poisoned. "Let's go. We're supposed to rendezvous with the captain at the lake." "Oh, and try and keep the noise down. You sound like a panicked moose crashing through the woods," the smarter man chided. "Oh yeah, like you could hear me over your special training, woodland animal steps," Rough Voice countered. It was like listening to two deer humping at each other. The men laughed in a wink, and in a wink disappeared into the underbrush, one on each side of the path. I strained to hear them moving but couldn't tell if they were gone. I waited until I couldn't hear couldn't bear the inactivity. The men had decided my move. The lake was to the east. Climbing through the trees, I headed south. As I worked my way along, an odd, creepy feeling burrowed its way into my mind. Somehow, I became convinced that the men I had seen on the path were following me, hunting me. An uncontrollable urge to move fast pushed on me like a strong hand on the back of my neck, propelling me forward. When I couldn't stand it any longer, I threw all precautions of keeping hidden and quiet aside. I dropped to the ground and bolted. When I burst into a small clearing in the trees, I stopped. The overpowering feeling of panic had disappeared. My sides stitched with pain. Dropping my pack, I collapsed onto the ground. Gasping for breath, I cursed myself for such panicky behaviour. "Nice outfit," a familiar voice said. Dread and fear gave me the energy to jump to my feet. No one in sight, yet. I ripped open my backpack and pulled the knife. My heart performed somersaults in my chest. I turned in slow circles as I scanned the forest, searching for the voice of death. So I do hope you enjoyed chapter 14. I will get chapter 15 uploaded as soon as possible. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you so much to all the subscribers, the new subscribers, the returning subscribers. You're all amazing. But I have noticed a few of you aren't actually subscribed, so don't forget, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any more random weird uploads. No matter where you are in the world, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening or night time, I want you to do what you love doing. Love and hugs to all you fantastic people out there, and I'll definitely see you all again soon. Goodbye, my beautifuls, and watch the end of the video.